What famous woman is the only woman to appear on a U.S. currency note?
Why do Canadians love Star Trek so much?
This is totally useless information with Nick and Roy. Listen, laugh, and learn.
Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Roy. And we scoured the internet this week to find these facts for you.
We'll also answer your mailbag questions, and in news from around the world, the king, his teddy, and his toilet seat.
Totally useless information. It's everything you never needed to know.
Einstein was a moron. Newton was a jerk. E equals nothing. It's science, science, science.
We have brought back a very important guest because he can tell us stories about the weather, because everyone talks about the weather. When you're at an
plus, we've gotten so much response from our audience in our first interview with Dave. And honestly, I thought it was one of the best interviews that we've ever done, because most of the time we have guests that don't know what they're talking about. But in this case, we have Dave Phillips, who has 50 years experience in climatology. Yes, he's only 55. He started when he was 5. No, but he has 50 years experience. And this is the type of guest that I think is wonderful, because we're asking him questions from all over the board as far as environmental and climatology. And he's the man to go to. And Nick, you can go through the awards that he's won. I mean, it's amazing.
And I will. And Dave, thanks, and welcome back to the show. Thanks for coming back.
Well, thank you. Roy could be my agent, a 10%er for me.
Wow. Weather is really a really popular topic. So we thought, let's bring Dave Phillips back on and talk about, last time we talked about weather myths. Now, Dave, how many weather stories would you estimate that you've compiled over your 50 years plus?
Well, I would say at least 30,000 plus. Some of them are real head shakers and clear your hair. Others are saying, wow, I knew tornadoes did that. And here's another example of it. People send me stories. I have to verify them. We have over 8 billion records in our archives with Environment Canada. So I can check to see whether a storm did occur on that occasion. But hey, I think it's very, to me, it's entertaining. I think I learn a lot. I love to look at stories from the past, and really, gee whiz, I've been invited to more wine and cheese parties to regale people about the weather history of our past. And we want to hear about stories not in Toronto or Ottawa or Washington. We want to hear about it from our own hometown and how we have seen and we've survived. I got a couple that I'd love to share with you. Sure. I mean, hard to break down only 3 or 4 of a list of 30,000, but
we have time. We have lots of time. We'll use this.
Okay.
I mean, we can set up a cot. We're ready to go. No, you can start with one of your favorite. Like if someone came to you and said, hey, what's the most favorite weather story you love to tell?
Your all time,
all time. I mean, we are in Canada. We are the snowiest country in the world. No question about it. We're the second coldest, but we're the snowiest. And our average precipitation for the year, 39% of it is snow. The world's average is 6%. So there are many people in the world have never even made a snowball, but every Canadian has. But one of my favorite stories is the snowiest day in Canadian history. Now, right now, the record is about 145 centimeters or 57 inches of snow that fell in February in a place in British Columbia, Tatsik Lake, 145 centimeters. But before that was back in 1999. But before that, the all-time record was less. It was about 112 centimeters or 44 inches of snow. And it fell in a place in southwestern Alberta in the sort of Waterton Lakes National Parks area. But it was the date it occurred that is most spectacular. 1963, June 29th. 2 days before Canada Day came the heaviest snowfall in Canadian history. And I said, I'd love to have been there to watch Americans wake up to find snow to the tip of their tent poles, wondering why they didn't go to Mount Rushmore for their summer holidays. There it is. In the middle of summer, we got what we're famous for is all the snow. And so that was, and again, it's the fact that you get warm air and moist air, but cool enough to cause snow, and you get a big dump of snow.
But here's why. You said it was 1963. I know exactly why. 1963, Roy was born and I was born in 1963, and that's why it snowed in June.
That was.
But I have another snow kind of survival story that is kind of neat.
Okay.
There was a farmer, a hog farmer northeast of Edmonton, who lost a market-sized hog during a blizzard back in 1956. So he couldn't find the hog. The hog just went and just disappeared. Well, 3 months later, the farmer was digging around where he thought the hog trough was, and he noticed the snow moving. And so he dug down deeper, and out came the pig. It had been hibernating there for 3 months, 93 days. Now, it had weighed 243 pounds on entering the snowbank, but it now weighed about 75 pounds. But when it got up, it kind of, staggered a bit and then walked to the pig shed like nothing had happened.
Wow.
Now, Dave, can you please tell us exactly where that was? Because Nick and I can make a fortune bringing fat people, excuse me, I don't want to say the word fat people, rotund people, husky people. We can bring them up there, put them in the snow, come back 3 months later, and they'll have lost all their weight.
And then ask for bacon and eggs for breakfast.
Exactly.
Now, one of the many accolades and awards that Dave has won, including the Order of Canada, that must have been a really high honor, because I think that is the highest civilian honor that one can receive in Canada. Is that correct?
Well, I think it is. I was very, really overcome with pride and thinking of all of if just a government employee who loves weather and puts things together to entertain and educate Canadians can get an award like that, well, it's available to anybody in Canada. So I felt very honored. It was about year 2000. It was by Adrian Clarkson, who was the Governor General at that time. And what was, you were about 100 people getting the award on that occasion. I always remember that it was in her residence in Ottawa. As I was walking up to her to pin the medal on you, and I thought, well, what is she going to say? And she's going to say, oh, you must be very proud of yourself. So she said, I believe everything you say. And I thought, and so I said, oh, I fooled another one. I shouldn't have said that, but it was just a wonderful moment.
Oh, Dave, if you go to Nick's house, Nick keeps all his important awards up. Like, for instance, in his award thing is the star that he got in kindergarten. The teacher's star. Yeah.
Okay, so and Roy, you can attest to this, because Roy and I have been friends for 40 plus years. Heaven only knows why or how, but we are nonetheless. So yeah. I think you remember this, Roy. At one time, I was extremely interested in meteorology, and you thought for sure that I would get into meteorology and be a weather person on television. I was so interested in the radio in my mid to late teens and early 20s, actually, that everyone thought I was going to become a meteorologist. So yes. I was interested. Wow. When did you get that weather bug as well? When did you know that science and meteorology was something you wanted to spend your life doing?
I'll be honest with you. I was born in Windsor, Ontario, which is the lightning capital of Canada. More lightning days. It doesn't get as many as Tampa, Florida does, but it is for Canada pretty lots of lightning up here. Yeah. So, but I would like to tell you, I had instruments in my backyard. No, I wanted a job, and I thought of coming from Windsor, smaller town, but going to the city of Toronto, the big smoke. I thought, so I had an offer from Environment Canada, and so I took it. And 50 years now, I've had 2 jobs in my lifetime. I was a room service at the Banff Springs Hotel, and then I've been a climatologist for 50 years. So I always felt I had something to fall back on if the weather business got a little rough.
No, yeah. I think you did okay. Now, you wrote several books, and I think one of the titles is, Did Niagara Falls Ever Go Dry? So we'll ask you point blank, did Niagara Falls ever go dry?
It did. I mean, we've seen the American Falls dried up a couple of times because the U.S. Corps of Engineers turned it off to repair the rocks underneath. But this is the Canadian Falls, the Horseshoe Falls, 10 times the size of the American Falls. And back in 1848, on the last days of March, people in Niagara Falls woke up. And it wasn't from the roar of the falls, it was the silence of the falls.
Oh.
The falls had turned off. And people from Buffalo and from Hamilton, they came down in droves to watch this incredible wonder of the world gone dry. People walked out on the riverbank and into the dry riverbed. You could see some of the pools of water and fish and other animals just floundering in the water. But there was even a U.S. cavalry walked up the dry riverbed, and people picked up muskets and bayonets and tomahawks from the War of 1812 as souvenirs. There was even a group of people took timbers that were submerged under the falls and made furniture of it later on. And so the churches were filled. Back then, when you couldn't explain what had happened, people thought it was the end of the world. It was clearly divine intervention. It was clearly you were not living the good life, and you had to come to grips with it. And
meantime, it was Nick who stuffed up a toilet.
Well, it was a stuffing up, exactly, because 30 hours later, somebody could hear that sound, and the falls resumed itself. What had happened, guys, was in Lake Erie, on the sort of the neck into the Niagara River, the ice had broken up and had wedged in there and had blocked the flow of Lake Erie. Well, back then, there's no meteorological service. There's people didn't really know about it. It was a distance away. And so
And what year was this?
1848, March the 29th. But March on April the 1st, the falls resumed itself, and people went back to a normal living.
Nick and Roy will continue with totally useless information. We're back with totally useless information with Nick and Roy. Listen, laugh, and learn.
Our very special guest from Environment Canada's Dave Phillips. We're talking about some really interesting weather stories. So
I think guys, one of my favorite kind of classics or genre of kind of weather stories are things that fall from the sky. And I think it's sort of interesting. I've had stories of fish falling from the sky and birds and that. And
we have lizards down
that's
here.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
I've heard of that in Florida. And but back in 1920, when it rained in Calgary, but it rained frogs in Calgary, and it was on 11th Avenue in downtown Calgary. And of course, the cats loved it because these were like fresh fish to the local cats. And nobody was an eyewitness to it, so they wondered how it occurred. But what we determined, it was some kind of a dust devil, a whirlwind, a water spout, some kind of a wind event, maybe a tornadic event, that picked up these creatures from a wetland and would carry them over. And then when the winds died down, it just dropped these creatures on the streets of Calgary back then. So these things happen, and they've occurred. I remember one other story I thought that was really fascinating was in Elgin, Manitoba, back in 1932. There were a flock of geese flying over this little town. And this was in April. And what happened, they were hit by a lightning bolt. The lightning bolt hit them, and 52 wild geese fell to the ground. What did the people do? Well, some of them that were salvageable, they picked them up and distributed them among the people there in the town, and they had goose dinner. Very resourceful. Back there during the Depression years, people they just took advantage of everything.
You don't have to tell Nick that, Dave. He picks up roadkill all the time.
Okay.
it's interesting you say that because Dave, because I was going to say jokingly, well, did they have like goose dinner? But they did.
They did.
Yeah. Because
but see, Dave thinks everything's attributed to the weather, Nick. I mean, Moses didn't have a problem. He said frogs, and the frogs just came,
Well, these birds weren't defeathered, but they were nicely barbecued.
Yes.
They were already cooked.
That's right.
Yes, and that maybe that's where the expression "your goose is cooked" came from.
Thank you, Nick. Yeah. I've often wondered about that.
I would have put a little marshmallow and a graham cracker.
so I can have some s'more. You're
No,
listening.
it's a gore. It's a gore.
That's right.
Because it's a goose.
You're listening. Oh, right. Of course. You're listening to Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy, in case you were wondering. A very special guest from Environment Canada's Dave Phillips. We're talking about some really interesting weather stories. And I think, Roy, you had a question for Dave, because we gave you a homework assignment for this one.
Yeah. What is the most terrifying day
Oh.
in Canada?
No, it's not
For-
my birthday in 1963. But I beat you to it, Roy. It's not that day.
It was the day that Nick came back to Canada from the States.
It's another one of sort of ancient times. 1819, I think, qualifies as the most terrifying day. And because people couldn't explain what had happened. This was in Montreal, population, maybe about 15,000 people living in Montreal at that day. And so the day began with a kind of pitch black in the early morning. And by noon, it was just as dark as it would be at midnight. And of course, we've seen those lately with fires and smoke from distant forest fires. And this was very, very dark. People lit candles, and offices had to have lighting to see. And there was a soapy, sudsy kind of rain that fell at this time. That had kind of a sooty dirtiness to it that people thought was kind of unusual. And then suddenly there was a tremor across the city of Montreal. So this darkness, and then this soapy, sudsy rain, and then a tremor that the ground shook, and people were headed to the church, to the Notre Dame Church in downtown Montreal. And there were almost 900,000 people had assembled there. And then all of a sudden, a thunderstorm occurred. This was November. Thunder, it can occur every month, but it's not often there in November. And lightning started the church on fire. And then an hour later, a lightning bolt, the biggest ever described, hit the spire on the church, and the iron cross melted and fell to the ground. People thought the world was coming to an end. They could not explain these 3 or 4 unrelated things, but they all could be explained. First of all, it was the darkness, was forest fires that occurred in northern Quebec. We've seen that this year. And in other parts of Canada, and the smoke came in and just darkened the skies. We saw the soapy sudsy, it's full of ash and cinders and that kind of thing. And when it rained, it happened to rain, it would take that impurities and bring it to the ground. Montreal is in an earthquake zone, and so having an earthquake occurred, it wasn't a big one, but it was enough to shake everybody. And then to have this incredible lightning event, which again occurs, but this fact that it hit the church where everybody was assembled and hit the spire and knocked it down, people really truly thought they were not living the good life.
That's a really good explanation, Dave. But I have to stop you for 1 second, and you see if my explanation might be better.
Okay.
God woke up that morning and said, I am so bored. I'm going to mess with Montreal.
I am sure that was thought of there back then, Roy.
Let's
People
shake
used
things
that
up.
as a real explanation for this most terrifying day in Canadian history.
Yeah, and it worked. I think it worked really well, if you ask me.
Yeah, but think about it. How perfect was that? You scare the living hell out of people. They all run to church, and then you blow the church up. I mean, that's really scary.
There's a Hollywood plot, huh?
Yeah, right.
So, Dave, as we leave you today, boy, we can go on and on. I think we're going to commission you to another episode at some point down the line. We really enjoyed our time with the previous episode, and even
In fact, Dave, would you take Nick's place?
No, I'm not as quick as Nick. I think guys really impressed me of this is not scripted. This is you guys coming up with this on words that somebody talks about. I think that all the writing is here, guys.
Well, thank you.
Well, we're so useless, Dave.
Yeah.
We have,
Yeah, we're making a living out of it. But yeah, and everyone's talking about artificial intelligence, and I have to make this declaration because I have to once a show. Everyone is talking about artificial intelligence. In fact, some podcasters are actually using artificial intelligence, AI, to write their show. We can guarantee that this show is 100% artificially intelligent free.
We have a new term. It's called AS, which is artificially stupid.
No, the stupidity is real. But use this information. Dave, you wrote a Canadian weather trivia calendar. Is that still
Yes.
available by chance?
No, it went for 33 years. It was the most popular calendar sold in Canada. Even outsold the Playboy calendar, which shows you what our priorities are in this country.
Yeah, those
Not
naked
in this
clouds.
house, Dave. Not in this house.
Hey, boy, pictures of naked clouds, man. Look out. Did you see this month? Boy, that was really cumulus, if you know what I mean.
That's a problem too, Dave, because the tornado and the hurricane is coming, and you're just sitting there staring at the calendar.
Oh,
I should be
Miss
heading
June.
for the basement.
Miss June, can you help me through this tornado?
Although you're right, Dave, it'll give you something to read while you're in the basement.
Or in the bathroom. In the bathroom. That's what
But I'm sure you check out any of Dave's bestsellers, The Day Niagara Falls Ran Dry and Blame It on the Weather, among other things. So Dave Phillips from Environment Canada, you can check him out. Google him and you'll find all kinds of interesting information about this.
And Dave, I got to tell you, we've had some amazing guests. We've had a guy that was living underwater for 100 days. He's a scientist.
Wow.
And he actually did a show with us while he was underwater, which is just so cool. And
we asked him, could you describe it? Actually, it's a pod that you got to rent out like a hotel. He says it's not the 5-star hotel. So I basically said to him, so what you're telling us, doctor, is that it's a dive. Enter.
but we've had some really interesting guests. And I have to say, we ask the guests questions and so on and so, but you are the most knowledgeable person I think that we've ever had on the show, and that scares me because we're totally useless.
Well, Dave, it's been an absolute joy to spend more time with you. Thank you so much for your time. We really
Nick, can I stop you for a second, Nick?
Why stop now, Roy? We want to thank you, and you know what? You still are a teacher, even though you didn't go into that at full time. But I think you've enlightened us, even though we call it useless information. I think it was really interesting and intriguing stories. And you look up to the skies and always be aware of your surroundings around you, and just be aware of what's going on, and you'll be safe. Dave, thanks again for joining us on Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy.
Thank you guys so much.
Nick and Roy will continue with totally useless information.
You won't see the engineer that slams the Nissan Rogue's door 13,920 times, or the corrosive chamber that simulates 15 years of life in 5 months, or the Rogue heat-baked for over 300 combined hours. What you will see is a vehicle that can take punch after punch and keep rolling. Nissan, #1 in new vehicle quality among mainstream brands by J.D. Power. We put it through the worst, so you get its best. For J.D. Power 2025 U.S. Initial Quality Study Award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Awards based on 2025 model year. Newer models may be shown.
We're back with totally useless information with Nick and Roy. Listen, laugh, and learn.
Down the garden path with Nick and Roy.
So you've heard of money plants. No, we're not saying that money grows on trees, because money doesn't grow on trees. I don't care what they say.
No.
These are money plants, and 5 leaves on each branch of the money plant represent the 5 elements of feng shui. Metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Money plants are known to bring good luck and prosperity to the home. Not only are they pleasing to the eyes, but they also spread positivity into place.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Chinese
feng shui.
Chinese medicine too. Earth, wind,
and
water,
fire. That's a great group. Earth, wind, and fire.
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember. I was listening to them once in September.
I do remember.
Next time you stick a French fry in your face, Nick.
Yeah.
Do you do that?
Last I checked,
like
yes.
French fries, Nick?
Yeah, they taste better that way.
Yeah. You like potato chips? Are you a big potato person?
As a matter of fact, just before we started this recording session, I had a nice, wonderful a dollop of mashed potatoes. The Yukon.
I like potatoes.
Yukon Golds. They are delicious.
Yeah, I love a good potato and steak. But next time you eat potatoes, you say to yourself, where did the potato come from?
The potato farmer?
I guess, Nick.
Idaho? Idaho.
Alaska.
You know what? Let's do that again. Okay. So
You're just
we'll-
gonna throw states out there?
Okay, hold on. So we're gonna pull back the curtain. We're gonna redo that. Okay. So you're gonna ask me, do you know where? Okay, Roy. Okay. So this is not an edit that was left in. This is intentionally redoing this for the audience. We're taking a little peek behind the curtain in 3, 2.
What do you want me to ask you?
Well, where the potatoes come from?
Oh, okay. Here we go again. Where did potatoes come from, Nick?
Idaho.
Alaska.
See, to the audience members who are still sticking around, aren't you glad you did?
Oh my God! I wish the hook would come out. It's like vaudeville. Okay, potatoes come They date back so far. They realized from finding these artifacts.
Okay.
7,000 years from Peru.
Peru.
The oldest potatoes have been found in Peru 7,000 years ago.
Wow. And that's nowhere near Idaho.
No, absolutely not. But they asked some of the people in Peru 7,000 years ago, and they said, we prefer McDonald's fries.
They were loving it way back when. There you go. Now, of all the trees that we've seen around, you have trees down in Florida. We have trees up here in Canada. We have all kinds of beautiful trees, evergreens, all kinds of wonderful cedars up here. You have mainly palm trees in Florida, I would say?
No, I see that's a big misconception.
It
Palm
is.
trees are not indigenous to Florida. They were brought here by the Spanish.
Oh.
They are not indigenous to the state of Florida. The pine tree, because we have many pine barrens, the pine tree is the actual tree of Florida.
So you see, I just learned something. Listen, laugh, and learn. I just learned something on this show.
Sure. We have a lot of black oaks and palm trees are growing all over the place. Now we have so many different varieties now.
Yeah. But the pine tree is the official tree of Florida.
I don't know if it's the official tree, but it is the indigenous tree of Florida.
That would be a great trivia question, a great trick trivia question. What is indigenous to the state of Florida? They'll say the palm tree. Wrong. You don't win the car.
The pawn shop.
The pawn shop. That's right. That's right. And grab your roots in there. Okay. Earth is 4 point.
Stick your root.
That's
in
right.
there.
Stick your root in there and like it. Earth is about 4.5 billion years old, last we checked, and plants may have colonized land as recently as 470 million years ago.
Did you actually witness this, Nick?
No, I didn't, because I was 471 million years old. Which most likely mosses and liverworts. Have you ever had a liverwort?
Not that I tell people about.
That's right. That's where you get the scuttlebutt from. Anyway, without deep roots, the vascular plants followed around 420 million years ago. But even for tens and millions of years after that, no plants grew more than about 3 feet off of the ground. So therefore, trees were not around for about 90% of the Earth's history.
Oh, wow. See, that's very interesting.
Sure.
We spoke about the strawberry.
Oh, yeah.
Having the seeds on the outside. It's the only fruit that bears their seed on the outside of the plant. If you ever look at a strawberry, it has all those little pricky things on it, so to speak, of the strawberry.
Ooh.
And so that led me to, after eating one of those THC gummies, I said, wow, how many? So I needed to find out how many actual seeds are approximately on each strawberry. It's 200.
200 seeds. You know what? I don't doubt it at all, because every time I eat a strawberry, a couple of them get stuck in my teeth.
I tried to count them, but I just kept eating them. So
That's right.
you could always count it the next day, I guess.
Yes. When you floss, you mean?
Yeah.
When you floss.
That's exactly what I meant.
Exactly. The bark of the white willow contains salicin, which is a chemical similar to acetylsalicylic, ASA, which is aspirin. Acetylsalicylic, basically it's similar to aspirin is what I'm saying. ASA.
You said it contains salicin?
Yes.
I knew his cousin Joacin.
Salem Joe. Yeah.
Salicin.
Anyway, the bark of the white willow tree, in combination with the herb's powerful anti-inflammatory plant compounds called flavonoids, salicin is thought to be responsible for the pain-relieving and anti-inflammatory effects of the herb. So the bark of the white yellow tree is what gives us the same properties as aspirin. So go suck on the bark of a tree.
Which is the most influential drug of all times, aspirin.
Aspirin. Wow.
Yes. Amazing, right? Broccoli and cauliflower are two of my favorites.
Yeah, but
They're
not
two
your
of my favorite vegetables.
Yeah, but not the members of your household.
No, not the next day. No. But what I do is if I have a good helping of broccoli and cauliflower,
Yeah.
just for kicks, I go to like an office building and ride up and down in the elevator. Not as funny for them, but
Yes.
they are the only vegetables, folks, that are classified as not only vegetables, they're classified as flowers.
Really?
Thus the name cauliflower.
Oh, right, of course. Yes.
And it's cauliflower, but cauliflower.
Right. And broccoli they come in florets, right? So like flowers of broccoli.
Florets, right. They are flowers.
Very good.
Mhm.
Boy, you're just
Cool.
you're full of great, useful information today. Not useful.
Yeah, it's kind of what I do.
Yeah. That's right. Had to
When I'm
vis-
not at the pawn shop, I'm spewing all this stuff.
That's right. Exactly. Hey, brother plant. Plants can actually recognize their siblings and give them preferential treatment, competing less for valuable resources like root space when surrounded by plants that are strangers. So could you imagine? Plants recognize that their other plants are part of the same family, siblings as it were, and so they give them preferential treatment. So there's no sibling rivalry there.
That's wild, huh?
Yeah, it's crazy.
In the show coming up, I'm going to talk about, when we talk about animals, I'm going to talk about dolphins. Dolphins actually give each other names.
They do.
Yes, and they know their names.
All right.
So it's amazing. I'm going to discuss the science behind it. Nick and I can see each other. You guys can't. Nick, do you know what that is?
That to me looks like a wishbone.
It is. It is a wishbone from a fowl.
Okay.
And have you ever heard of the wishbone flower plant?
No, I've heard of wishbone salad dressing and wishbone at Thanksgiving dinner. No.
Inside of the wishbone flower plant, the stamen, which is basically like the area for the seed,
Yes.
the stamen is shaped exactly like this wishbone. And
Really?
there's multiple stamens in there. Yes. So it is called the wishbone plant. So it's like I went to school and brought like show and tell.
Nick and Roy will continue with totally useless information. To access the full library of episodes, visit nickandroy.com. That's nickandroy.com.
You won't see the engineer that slams the Nissan Rogue's door 13,920 times. Or the corrosive chamber that simulates 15 years of life in 5 months. Or the Rogue heat-baked for over 300 combined hours. What you will see is a vehicle that can take punch after punch and keep rolling. Nissan, #1 in new vehicle quality among mainstream brands by J.D. Power. We put it through the worst, so you get its best. For J.D. Power 2025 U.S. Initial Quality Study Award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Awards based on 2025 model year. Newer models may be shown.
We're back with totally useless information with Nick and Roy. Listen, laugh, and learn.
Edward Jones might have been the first celebrity stalker. He got caught trying to steal Queen Victoria's underwear 4 times. Edward Jones' life was no fairy tale, and he was caught with the monarch's clothing down his trousers, no less. Dr. Jan Bondenson, a senior lecturer at Cardiff University, spent 5 years researching his subject. He said Edward Jones was a very weird character, you think, and apart from Queen Victoria, he was never interested in women. He was extremely ugly, with a wide mouth and a low brow, and he never washed, which is why people thought he was a chimney sweep. He took the Queen's underwear the first time, and then the third time, he stole food from the kitchen, and twice he was caught sitting on the throne. Doesn't indicate which one. Instead of being thrown in prison, he was sent to live in a penal colony in Australia.
The old penal colony.
That's right, yes. Where they have
What was his name?
His name was Edward Jones. On our website, nickandroy.com, you have opportunities to send your loved one a birthday message, and now brand new for a brand new year, anniversary messages.
People are flipping out. And by the way, it's the people that forced us into doing the anniversary message. We had so many requests for anniversary messages. Could you do an anniversary message? Could you do it just like the birthday? Folks, if you don't know what we're talking about, go to nickandroy.com, click on birthday message. You are going to see it's a mini show that we do with all totally useless information for your loved ones, and they are going to flip out. They are going to, I'm telling you, they send it to everybody. We get comments from people, friends of theirs, that, oh my God, how do I get one of these? How do I do, So nickandroy.com, go on birthday messages. It is the greatest gift of all time, and it's inexpensive.
Exactly. Website is nickandroy.com. Up until 2001, Disney employees were not allowed to wear their own underwear under their costumes. They had to share Disney.
Were they part of Sniffer there?
Yeah, Edward Jones did not work for Disney. They had to share Disney-issued undergarments. So what were they, Mickey Mouse? Like, here are grown people wearing Mickey Mouse underwear. But after several employees complained, and they complained because they got... and reported stained undies, the company changed their policy.
Oh no! Especially being that they didn't make those Disney underwear in anything but youth sizes, so for someone like me, that would be really heartbreaking to put them on. It'd be like a nasty Speedo.
So you're listening to Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. Today we talked about money, we talked about garden, we talked about expressions. It's time for the news.
And now, from around the corner and around the world, this is TUI News.
King Charles III, the newly crowned King Charles III, does not travel without his teddy bear or his toilet seat. A former valet for King Charles shared that the royal travels with his teddy bear and needs to be tucked into his bed, even as an adult.
Oh, no.
Okay. He always travels with a trusted companion and a throne.
I knew something was wrong with him.
And a throne that's fit for the king. The king is known to have an outrageous list of demands, you think? But it was recently revealed that King Charles III also doesn't like square ice cubes.
Oh, my God.
And he does travel with his childhood teddy bear. Christopher Anderson, the author of The King, The Life of Charles III, said that the beloved bear...
I knew his cousin, Hans Christian.
Right, another great storyteller. He said that the beloved bear has been by Charles's side since he was a very small child. It was even guarded by one of Charles' most trusted valets, Michael Fawcett, who was in charge of caring for the beloved bear well into the king's adulthood. So whenever the toy needed mending, a designated nanny made the necessary repairs.
Oh, my God.
The only person who's allowed to mend King Charles' teddy bear is his childhood nanny, Mabel Anderson. This tune-up would occur when Charles was...
I knew that's Hans Christian's cousin.
Right, Mabel Anderson. That's right. It's all in the Anderson family. The tune-up would occur when Charles was well into his 40s, and every time that the teddy needed to be repaired, you would think it was his own child having major surgery. He was really concerned about the well-being of this teddy bear.
And this man is running England.
At night, the valet would lay out the king's pajamas and before he went to bed for a peaceful sleep.
I guess he'd rather look at that bear than to see
his wife Camilla.
Camilla Bear.
Now, the royal is also rumored to travel with a custom-made toilet seat.
Oh, don't even tell me.
His favorite toilet paper, ice trays, and personal chef. When he goes to dinner parties at other people's homes...
What does he do? Put the ice cubes up his...
No, he doesn't in his royal...
His bottom? Does he place them in his bottom, Nick?
He puts them in his royal asset. So
when he plays with the old Paddington, while he's on the toilet seat, he's bouncing the Paddington up and down on his royal junk.
That's right. So he would go to a dinner party, and often bring his own chef. So never mind bring your own bottle. He brings, it's not BYOB.
Oh,
it's,
no.
It's
He
BYOC.
goes to somebody's house and brings it. Oh, well, see, I'd invite him.
Yeah.
You just have the chef cook for everybody.
That's right. No, but the chef only cooks for the king.
Yeah, can you imagine, too, what they bring a whole team of people to excuse me, I need to use the bathroom. Can I change the toilet seat out as well?
He has a team, just like in a race car, in the NASCAR pit, where you have like a pit crew. He's got like a toilet seat crew to switch.
He said, I don't like square ice cubes. I like them rounded on the edges because they don't hurt as much going in.
It's the Royal Ice Suppository. Wow. My goodness. So anyway, so instead of BYOB, it's BYOC. Bring your own chef. So,
or BYOC. Bring your own cube.
That's right. So they also carry around ice trays. They've brought them to wherever he goes because he doesn't like the clinking sound that square cubes make.
Oh my!
Could you imagine? Anyway, he's been waiting for 7 decades.
But he can really associate with the normal people, right?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
So
he's just a regular guy.
Waiting for
he's
7.
He's just a regular guy with Dumbo ears.
Allegedly. So for 7 decades, he's been waiting to take the throne, and literally with his own toilet seat. He has an acquired taste for finer things. He wants what he wants when he wants it. King Charles III.
Wow, crazy.
That's all the time that we have for this episode of Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. Roy and I right now will go and install our own toilet seats as we scour the internet and other sources to gather more useless information for you next time.
So, tally-ho and knock up all your friends and tell them to listen to the show.
Did you say knock up all your friends? What? No.
Knock up means to call.
Oh, okay. Well, knock up.
That call is to knock somebody up.
Yes, so tell the people what they need to do.
They need to go to nickandroy.com. That they need to do. They need to click on birthdays, too. Guys, get the birthday for your friends. It is so cool. It is really, really the most unique gift ever. And it's inexpensive. So jump on nickandroy.com.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Roy.
Thanks for listening.
Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy is a production of nickandroy.com. Visit nickandroy.com to access the full library of episodes or wherever you get your podcasts.